Welcome to the Vault podcast, everybody. As is tradition, we will go with the blessing of the podcast from Terry the Triceratops.
It needs to be blessed.
It needs to be blessed. Dan,
A three-pronged approach.
please salute.
Guys, he needs a salute.
Please salute Terry.
And I'm just gonna.
You're just gonna. What are you gonna do back there?
Nothing.
He's
just
not.
nothing. Oh,
Oh, what's going on, Terry? Is there something the matter?
well, I think he's a bit concerned.
Why
with
is that?
it's an all-male cast, and
Oh.
he must miss Jess.
This is the first episode without a female.
Yes.
Oh my
what is
goodness. Okay, we need to convince Terry. Okay, Terry, Jess is away. I know there's a lot of men in the room, but I still think it's going to be a good podcast. Terry?
Salute.
Salute. Thanks,
Yes,
Terry.
Okay, great. That's
He-
good. What
he approves.
talking?
Pardon?
That was well reasoned.
Yeah.
Oh,
We do miss Jess.
we do miss Jess. Jess is again away on who knows.
Much needed vacation.
On a
Probably
holiday.
vacation time, a little holiday break. But today, instead of Jess Mclean, you have David Wakerley, pushers of buttons, Nathan, Dan, Steve, Phil, what's your name?
Jeff.
Jeff on
down.
Dan Learcher, resident funny man and fact checker. Over here we have Graham Berry, and his perspective is going to be very interesting because he has been a kids pastor at Hillsong Church, and he has now
Works on a campus level.
at a campus level, so oversees a lot of the ministries that happen in a location in Newcastle, which is just a short few clicks above Sydney in Australia.
Click.
We have Ben as well, and Ben is, in his role, is the creative kids pastor at our Hills location, which is our biggest location, like the mothership of Hillsong Church in
mothership.
Australia.
Yeah.
And his role is very much there are very few kids creative pastors on our staff. As in, I think he's the only. We do have some part times.
3 in Australia.
3 in Australia, and to be honest, we've never really Hillsong Church. We've never really had kids creative pastors as a thing because we focus on it's just like this one of these roles we've always wanted, and eventually we're going to get there. And we've got now Ben, and we've got a few people around, and it's hopefully going to get more and more as the
There's
time
actually
goes on.
7 more on staff. They've just never rocked up to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're so
Can you
creative.
fact check that?
Yeah.
Fact check.
Now, Ben, just have a look at the camera. Just put your head down. This is what a wonderful hat.
Oh.
Can we zoom up on it? No one's on the camera.
If you're watching, if you're listening,
He could just walk closer.
you could zoom up on that.
if you are watching on YouTube, you'll see Ben's Vegemite hat.
Powerful.
If you're listening on Spotify, you have no idea what's going on,
can hear it.
or on
Can
Apple
Can we just
Podcasts.
start going around the room? When was your first experience with Vegemite?
My first experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it'd be like 5 years old having a Vegemite and cheese sanger
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
school.
Wow.
I grew up in New Zealand, and Marmite was a little more popular than Vegemite, but I have had them both, and I would have had them at a very young age, probably 2. I don't know.
We had Marmite growing up, but my grandmother had Vegemite,
Right.
and then she put that on, and I had a sandwich because there's a lot more punch to it.
There's a lot more punch in Vegemite
And
than
I
Marmite.
just went,
Yes.
It's
What is this? It was amazing. I like
Right.
Vegemite.
It's a man's
much more.
mite, that's what
yeah,
you call it.
it is.
I enjoy it.
Did you ever have Promite? That was
Graham,
that's-
even growing up in England,
Yeah, we didn't have Vegemite. We had
You had Oxo.
we had Marmite.
yes.
And there was actually an ad campaign for Marmite. Either you love it, you love Marmite, or hate Marmite. That was like part of their thing. They knew that loads of people hated it, and I was a hate Marmite person. And then came to Australia, and Vegemite was not my favourite.
You don't like Vegemite at the moment?
I don't eat it.
Right.
You don't have to.
We do.
My children do.
Yeah.
Right.
And anytime there's crumpets
Oh,
or things
yes.
like that,
Yes.
I will not. I just cannot fathom Vegemite on crumpets.
What
It
do-
has to be jam.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
yes.
okay.
I would
I
go
grew
with
up
honey.
on-
I would
I
go
grew
with
up
honey on
on
a
Yeah,
jam.
crumpet.
eggs on crumpets.
Eggs on crumpets.
But
I've
eggs
never
don't
done
come in
sweet crumpets. That was something I learned when I moved to Sydney. Never done that growing up.
Really?
Ooh,
Now,
interesting.
hands up. One more Vegemite
Hands
question.
up. Really, Dan?
So
Who has given an American friend
Yes.
called it Australian chocolate before?
Yeah, and they
watched
get
them
a whole
eat
dollop
them?
on
Yeah.
Yeah, big spoon.
Yeah, that's
Bam.
Hold your nose when you eat
That's
it.
me. That's you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Dave.
don't think I've ever. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I've
lived.
seen it happen.
Wow, you're the nice one.
Yeah, I am very
That's
nice,
never
which is
happened
unusual.
That's
before.
unlikely.
By the way,
High-functioning.
if you are listening, watching, you have no idea what Vegemite is, there's probably 1 million YouTube videos of people tasting Vegemite for the first time.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, then I recommend you do it because it's a taste that is to be acquired.
Thinly spread upon a.
And I would
Thinly.
recommend,
Medium.
as I recommend, lots of butter,
yes,
lots of butter,
melted.
and that combination is very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Is the word
Yeah.
I'm looking for. All right. Well, welcome. So this is the first time we've ever had a four-person podcast.
A what now?
And a four-person podcast.
4 PP.
A 4PP.
We've had 3 PP, never 2
3
PP, but
No,
Never
it's
4
always
PP.
been 3. So this is a very exciting day, and there is lots of questions to get through. I've got my notes here, Dan. It says here, build rapport. Check. Okay.
Have you?
I don't know if you have.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
actually, I did all the questioning.
Yeah, that's also
You guys got rapport with me?
Yeah.
Right, but not with Dave.
Great that you're right now.
Okay.
3/4 of the room are
I
fine.
can't tick that off. I won't be ticking off that then.
Okay, just,
In
TK.
progress.
TK.
Loading window.
Updates. It is currently. Well, we've talked about everybody's names, what they do. I was going to say updates.
Oh,
This is episode number 9,
Yep.
and as two episodes, like a couple of episodes ago, we suddenly had questions coming in. So we're still riding that high, Dan, of people
It's
being
so
interested in what we're
exciting.
doing.
Yes.
Such a high.
Oh.
So it's actually very exciting when people are interacting with what we're doing. So we're loving it. Thank you. But keep those questions coming in. Where, Dan?
The vault at hillsong.com.
The vault at hillsong.com. Whereabouts is it, Ben?
The Vault at Hillsong.
Could you clarify that?
At
Graham?
hillsong.com.
Okay, thank you.
The vault.
Dave, I think an update, you need to talk about our rap party we just had.
A rap party, that's correct.
Yo, yo, keep
Hillsong
it-
Kids has been making curriculum and resources, albums since 2004, curriculum and resources for churches since 2008. And we are notoriously bad at celebrating sometimes because we just move on with the next thing. And we're like, oh, let's keep going and doing what God's calling us to do. But sometimes you need to take a break and have a party. And so last night it was Halloween, which is not big in Australia, but still people love a dress up.
It's getting way
It is
bigger.
It's getting bigger,
Yeah.
and people love to dress up, and why wouldn't you? So we went into the heart of Sydney and had our own little rap party, and it was a great time. And we celebrated what we'd done over 10 years, and for us, it was a significant night, like a little step back and go, hey, we've actually done great.
Yeah.
Couple of stats from the night, which
Okay.
I thought was amazing.
Go
so
on.
15 curriculums made, over 70 hours of video content.
70
and another
hours.
little tip that you guys might not heard, 750,000 words in written material.
Wow.
750,000.
So that's
750,000 words.
we've put
Isn't that
700, and all of them 100% theologically correct.
Yes.
That was the other stat.
Except for the one I wrote, and then you
And then
took that out.
And then we edited it. So that's a significant thing.
It's impressive.
So
And
that's
shout
a good
out
update.
to Catherine
Shout
for
out to-
writing all of those
100%.
750,000
Pretty
words.
much
Every
most
one
of
of them
them.
herself. Yeah.
Some of them we wrote. We did write some scripts, Dan.
Right.
We
Did
wrote some
you
jokes.
write for us at one point?
It's
How many of those words
It's
did you do?
insignificant. Yeah.
Graham wrote 14 of those words, and then we took out
I
7.
wrote like the title page of each of the different leader guides.
Right.
But it is a skill.
Leader guide.
It is a skill, and if you're out there listening or watching and you're going, hey, we could make our own curriculum,
You can't.
you can. No, it's so much work. I want you to consider seriously before you do it.
Yeah, talk
It's-
to us at 500,000 words, and then we'll chat.
It's so like everyone can pull off one curriculum, one resource, but to keep it going for this long it's so much work. Did I mention how much work it was?
But
How much
also-
work is it?
So much work.
Also, what it is included with what you guys have done for 10 years. There is like every little thing you could possibly think of. So why would you go and make your own when
Oh.
everything is done for you?
Sell it.
And you just rock up there and you just have to focus on your team and your kids.
Sell
You're
it,
winning.
Ben. Well, that's the great thing.
Yeah.
The great thing we do for even our own churches, all of our locations around Australia and the world, all they have to do is focus on pastoring kids. It takes a huge amount of the workload off. So wherever you are in the world, 100% look at what you're doing and how much time you're spending on getting the weekends ready, and then just evaluate your time and go, you know what am I called to do this? Because some of you will be. We're like part of our calling is to create resources, but is it your calling?
yeah.
Is it what God wants you to do with that?
Yeah.
That what is it? What's a work week? 40 hours a week?
Yeah, 38.
38 hours a week, 40 hours a week. What does God want you to do with that time? And
Yep.
anyway, I would
And-
seriously look at it.
And remember, there's always someone on your team that can make curriculum. Us. We're part of
We're
your
part
team.
of your team.
Yes.
Welcome to the team. As you know, you're a part of, if you're a listener or watcher of the Vault podcast, you're automatically in our team. We're in your team. So let us team together and let us go to our first question.
Ooh.
Team up. Here we go.
It's not even a
Question.
question. It's an email, Dan. Guess from who? It's friend Tash.
Oh, Tash.
Whoa, whoa,
She's
whoa.
a couple episodes ago.
Yes. we love
100%. So
Tash.
Tash is. We gave Tash a big shout out. She won email of the week.
Yes, she did.
And she just sent us an email here saying, okay. I'm going to say that better. Okay. I don't know how to. She's written okay.
That's so Tash.
That's so Tash, right? Could you bless my life anymore? Crying emoji, laughing crying emoji. Both of them were laughing.
Did she include the emoji or actually wrote it out verbatim?
No, she
Laughing,
wrote it.
crying emoji.
Brackets.
Laughing, crying emoji. I was laughing so hard. Thank you for asking my questions. It was gold. We love gold. Gold. You guys are the best for real. And I needed that encouragement. Well, Tash, blessings upon ye. And she won email of the week, and you should be getting that prize. You probably will have got it by now.
Already just sent it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
All right,
you, Tash.
that's an easy question. Done.
Done.
Team member Tash, thank you
Right
so
in
much.
again, team member Tash.
Now, later on, we will be doing. Oh, by the way, email of the week from Tash. You could win email of the week.
Ooh, and you could win.
Wow.
Yes,
Your
you should
very
hold it up to the
own.
camera.
The small business
A
card.
little
A
card.
small business card.
On the back of here is a.
Don't show them. They'll
you get
they'll-
words.
The
Oh,
code.
goodness.
Someone's already
Oh
slated.
no!
Okay,
They're
well,
freeze
that
framed.
I have more.
Winner.
They freeze framed that
I
moment.
very much want it. First person to.
If you could freeze frame it. I
it's
don't think-
yours. Like, do it.
I'm
do it.
not filming in 4K though, so I don't think you could zoom up on that.
That would be
Total guessing
amazing.
game,
I
that
can
one.
track that. We'll keep live updates.
Question-
But yes, you get a free download of the Funny Man Dan,
Funny Man Dan
live,
live
comedy DVD
comedy
filmed in
DVD.
front of thousands of children.
Thousands of kids
Very
at our
funny.
Hills location. I hope it's funny because it's
Graham
called Funny
was,
Man Dan.
Graham was going to be in it, but he was too busy.
What was that true?
Yeah, he was.
Wow,
Probably.
Matt Jones took his spot.
he did.
Yeah.
He
He's
did
never
all
too
right.
busy.
He
Matt
always
Jones
takes
did all
my
right.
spot.
Yeah.
All right.
We're quite
Hey,
similar.
hey, Dev. Oh my goodness. From Rachel Chia, team member Rachel Chia, real team member, because we've talked about Rachel before. In fact, I think last episode she got the shout out, the team member shout out.
I
of the week.
shouted her out.
You shout her out.
'cause she's
do we have?
awesome.
By the way, do we have a shout out ready for today?
Yes.
I think one of you guys need to. We always give a shout out, and we've started doing this as of a couple of episodes ago.
So we do a shout out from someone.
I haven't had any
No one's
nominations.
nominated shout out, so you guys can nominate a shout out.
Right. Okay.
And it's just someone who's done an awesome job, done something amazing. Near the end of the show, we'll give a
And
shout out because
they
I haven't
will
had
win.
any nominations on email.
Right, and they will win a shout out.
I will win a shout out
how good's
and a
that?
high five and a virtual high five from us. Hey, Dave, Dan, and Jess, and Ben and Graham. So many churches are run purely by volunteers. Can we fact check that?
Yeah, 38%
Is that
are
true?
run by staff, so the more is voted.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good recovery.
How do you encourage your church members, parents, young adults to be involved in volunteering? Not necessarily just in kids, but in church in general.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, good question. For those who do choose to serve in kids, how do we encourage our volunteers to see the times that they're rostered on as an opportunity? There's a word rostered in there, or if you've come from England, roted.
Rotated, yeah. No.
Some volunteers can see being rostered on as a burden, as they know they have to prepare during the week to either teach or preach. All right, really cool. This is full time. People working full time. Encouraging to watch the program. Okay.
Said everything you just said there.
It's amazing how she spelt that.
It's amazing. It's and I deciphered it. All right. Well, let's talk about this. Let me start off with this thought. I've got a thought of the day to start off with.
Right.
I've been thinking about this, right? Because we have a lot of kids in our services, and we want to, and as the Bible says, we want to train them up in the way they should go, and we know that hopefully the way they should go is to be a part of serving. The Christian life is a life of service and serving others, and so if it is that, then we have a junior leadership program for our kids who get involved specifically in areas like creative, praise and worship, sound and lights, helping out with our 1 to 3 year olds, our cubby houses. That is a very specific thing, but we really should be encouraging every single one of the kids in our church to serve. Let's be honest. If they make it, I feel like if kids make it through your entire ministry from 0 to 12 without serving, then, but you've taught them the Bible, yes, great. We've prayed for them, we've ministered them, yes, great. But if they've never served a day in their life before the age of 12, I think we've missed an opportunity.
Very good.
So that's my thought of the day is like every kid find out some way to help them serve others. The way I tell kids, I say, hey, where are you serving today? My question to kids is usually, hey, who are you making church better for today? And because then kids' minds, that's a different question. That's serving, but they may not understand what the word serve is, but they understand the idea of making sure it's great for somebody else.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's my first thought. But let's keep talking about, because if you don't serve before the age of 12 and you get to an adulthood and you've never served, then it's going to be very hard to get you to start. That's my thought there. Anybody want to add to that thought?
I think that's true.
Yes.
Yes. I remember Nathan when I first came on Start, or way before I came on Start.
Jess's husband, Nathan Mclean.
Yeah.
Fact check.
Nathan Jemima Mclean. Yes.
Jemima, yes. Carry on.
I remember him saying once, but in one of our meetings, whatever, how a kid's worldview is formed by the age of 10.
Correct.
And their idea of everything around him and how important is, what we're teaching him and stuff. And the same thing with leadership and serving principles, and their idea around it is formed by the age of 10.
Right.
And so when they're going into their JLP programs and stuff, like, do they have a healthy worldview of what it is to serve in our church and help, lead and flourish in that area, which is, like, on the back of that, I think is really important. And I love what we get to do with Hills with that. We have a volunteer in our team called Emily, and her job on Sundays is to get all the JLPs that are serving that weekend, sit down with them and talk through where they're serving. They all say what they've been doing. They ask about how their KDG Plus is going at home, which is the discipleship tool we have.
Journal. Yep.
Journal, yep. And they talk through what are you going to do to help make, pretty much your same question, to help make another kid's week better this week, like in your
Very
serving.
good.
What are you doing specifically this week? What are you going to work on specifically on lights to make it better than what you were last week? What are you going to do in the cubby house room, the 1 to 3 year olds, to make it better than it was last week? And so she sits down with them and gives them a tangible point to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's amazing. Like, that is so valuable. Now, not everybody can do that. And sometimes with volunteers, basically, you guys are in a position where people have the space to do that, and that's what we're trying to create. I think to getting people to serving, just in serving in general, is that idea of you've got to serve for a greater purpose. You've got to have a reason. In my book, If Only You Knew, sponsor of the show today, which is the latest book from Hillsong Kids, that it talks all about. Thank you, Graham.
Sorry, I was just giving you.
You wanted to read it now. I get it. You were that excited. No, but the idea there is, if you're volunteers, like she's talking about here about volunteers who may not see the value in it, or they need to see it as an opportunity. Dan messing with the screens, which is a common occurrence on our podcast. If you watch the video, how do you see it as an opportunity? Well, you want to help them say, here's a win for you today. Here's a way that you can feel like you've accomplished something. If you do this and you did this, I think you will feel like you've accomplished something today. And talking about that, so what are those things that you can accomplish? And there's lots of things. And they're different for every person. Let's get some thoughts. Graham, at the end of a weekend service, right, or a weekend, is there anything that you feel like if you've done in your role that you go, okay, that was a good weekend. I did this and I feel like I accomplished something. I didn't just rock up and felt like I was just contributing nothing.
Yeah.
What for you is it?
I think overall, and it's probably the same for, I think, anyone who's being encouraged to serve anywhere, is for them to understand the significance of anything they've done and the part that they play, not just to tick some boxes on a kids ministry, like to get through, or to host a service, like showing people to their seats, or being on the doors, or whatever they're going to be doing as a function in any service. I think it's for them to understand that they're not just fulfilling a function, they're actually building the kingdom. Right. And I think there's probably layers of understanding for people to see that. Yeah. And I think at the end of my weekend, if I've engaged with people to build community or to connect them to a greater vision, any of those big picture things about connecting them across the life of our church, all those sorts of things, if I can feel like I've built the kingdom instead of just fulfilled a function and just ticked a box on something, that's when I feel like there's a depth of contribution that actually fulfills me. Great. And I think when we encourage other volunteers to see that they're not just fulfilling a roster, they're not just doing a function for us for the service to happen, but when they're doing the function, they're doing that, but they're also building the kingdom. Like, there's great significance to what they're doing. That's good. And that everyone then becomes part of something bigger than just themselves. And it's scriptural too, isn't it, that we're all part of the body, like we're all different things, but we all form something way bigger than ourselves. Otherwise people just get really demoralized because they didn't get to do that function that they know they should have done, you know?
Yeah.
So overall, it's a big picture thing.
Here's what I'm hearing you say, Graham. Not only some people would be fulfilled by doing the work of the ministry, it's almost as if though you're fulfilled by encouraging people to do the work of the ministry.
Yeah.
And I think as a leader, that's your perspective. It's not just about what you can accomplish ministry-wise. It's you going, you need to be fulfilled by the fact of encouraging others to do the work of the ministry. That's probably a good way of putting it.
And for them to see what they're actually doing. Because they're not actually just scrubbing a bench to get ready for a KDG, and they're not just taking someone to their seat. That's the function, that's the actual practicality of it. What they're actually doing is building community. They're literally sometimes setting the table for kids to find themselves in community. Like there's always something far more significant to anything that they're a part of. Like no matter what it is. And I think when people see that, that's when they see the opportunity in what they're doing. Yeah. Like they see like, it's not just, hey, can you come and do X, Y, Z? It's like, it's the famous what versus the why.
Yeah.
And I think if we can dial in people's understanding of that, man, people will line up to volunteer because they're like, I'm not just doing a little thing, I'm doing a big thing.
100%.
One
Significance.
thing I have learned
Yes.
is, and I fully believe that you can't outgive church.
Ooh.
I've tried,
Right.
and I've always received back more than I've given. And times where I haven't always have been because of my attitude and something I needed to grow through rather than the situation I was in. Something was blocking the flow. So people have said, "Oh, you've done all this stuff as a volunteer for so many years. Why would you do that?" And I'm like, I've had the ability to grow in the skill and craft, be able to minister to kids. All this sort of stuff is so valuable. Dave and I have had experiences that people in the film and television industry wouldn't never get a start in. We've had no training, no, we're not even good at it. But
but we've done it for 10 years and no one's told us to stop.
Exactly. So the ability to grow and stuff, and so encouraging your people and getting them to see the bigger picture is something really going to help. Now, quick fact check.
Fact check.
Proverbs 22:6 is train your child in the ways.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. 1 Corinthians 12 is many bodies and one part. And
many bodies in one part. Yep, carry on.
parts,
That's exactly the verse.
Check that fact check.
Different
And Psalm 84:10
Zealous
is
Psalms.
better one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere, which is what we're talking
That's a
about.
good reference.
And I want to say to you, Dave,
Yes.
you had a great quote. You said, if they spend their entire time here not serving, they've missed an opportunity.
Right.
Dave Wakerley, 2019.
I said that, yep.
Now, that is also true in tennis.
Go on.
As a waiter,
Right.
if you don't take your time
So
to
many
serve.
applications to this quote.
As a motorist, avoiding
Okay,
obstacles.
so what you're saying, sorry, if you don't,
Oh, no,
if
that's
you
swerve.
play tennis,
Sorry, hang on. Yeah.
so what you're saying is if you play tennis for
And
12 years and never serve,
never serve.
you're really
You've
not
really
good at
missed
tennis.
an opportunity to win. You missed the opportunity to win.
I'm following you now.
Yeah.
All right, question number 2 from Carly. Team member Carly. Say hi to Carly, everybody.
Hi,
Carly.
Now,
Hi,
listen,
Carly.
Carly, listen to this. Dan Lee Archer, we need to address Carly. This is serious.
I've got a bone to
Well,
pick
we
with her.
do. Don't know if you remember me, but I was at Hillsong College in the city 2014, 2015. Yes, Carly.
Yeah.
In fact, Dan.
We don't really. I live streamed into your wedding.
Wow. So
I sat there at some random time and watched you get married to your sweetheart Jacob.
I'm just going to pull Dan's. He's so upset his microphone's peaking.
I sat there commenting with everyone else from Australia.
I don't know whether you
I was
remember.
at your wedding.
Dan, he was at your wedding.
I don't know if you
So
remember.
what we're saying is,
I don't know
yes,
if you remember me.
I don't know if you invested some of your time looking at the
Did you send him a gift?
Carly, you've pulled off the
Yes.
impossible and
Did you?
offended Dan Lee Archer. It's never happened before. All right, so
we remember you.
yes, we
Hi,
of course,
Hi,
Carly, we
Jacob.
do.
I wasn't
Carly
at
and
the wedding.
Jacob, I'm loving the podcast. Yes, awesome. Thank you, team member Carly and Jacob. She's got 6 questions here.
Wow, yeah.
Whoa.
So we'll see what we get through, but because I want to focus a little bit on, make sure we talk about creative
Good.
for Ben, because that's all he knows.
It's relevant.
All I know.
That's all he knows.
Wow.
But also,
Well, to my
I
wisdom
want to
is
try
that
and
one
get
thing.
questions that Graham will respond to as a big picture.
all
Someone
I
who's
know.
doing part of his role as kids.
Correct. Well,
Let me see. Okay. Well, this is one we've never talked about before, but hopefully you'll be able to contribute a little bit to this. Similar to the first question, I haven't got to the first question yet, but what is your songwriting process? What are some tips you have for writing kids songs, in brackets that aren't too cheesy? Okay, so...
I feel like I'm best qualified to
yes,
answer
I'd like
this
to jump in on this. I'll say this. I will say this about songwriting.
I only do cheesy ones. So
Only do cheesy?
I'm out.
Right.
Do you know that famous song, I think I'm going to throw up? Think I'm going to throw up my hands and praise the Lord. Ever heard of that?
Wow.
That is the ultimate, I feel like.
Wow.
That's actually
cheesy.
a song.
Yep. It's a true story.
Use that
I think
for
you
free,
can I
guys.
think I'm going to throw up. I don't know where it came from. I've
From
just...
the, from the
it's
pit of someone's stomach.
True. So that would be an example. So again, it's a fun song for kids.
That is a fun song.
But it's definitely... it's making a point. Definitely making a point somehow. There's a point in there. Songwriting is the trickiest, most difficult, the most intense, I think, creative thing you can do. Like it's you don't want to approach it lightly. Whenever you hear our songwriters talk about their songwriting process in church, that's always it's very there's something very deep about it, but also the reason it's so difficult is because so little of what you produce gets used. If we film an episode of the podcast, it's very rare that we go, oh, that wasn't good enough. Because we're just desperate to get podcast episodes out. If you're cooking,
Desperate.
Very rare.
Yes.
we just got to, we're on the train now.
Well, if this episode gets used, we'll know that the standard's quite low.
Where is the bar? If you're a cook and
Gotta
you're
have a
making
baseline,
cookies,
yeah.
you don't throw away too many of it. You might burn them every now and then, but you use most of what you produce. If you're an artist, you don't throw away too many of your... But so what I'm saying is the output for songwriting is like such a low percentage of your work compared to your output. If you're really putting out stuff that is good, then you're only going to use a very, very small amount, maybe 1 in 10 of the songs you write. That's why it's so hard. Because other creative ventures...
I haven't written 10 songs.
Other creative ventures, is a higher... I'll say this is in other creative art forms... is a much higher output.
Yeah.
You don't throw away as much as you do in songwriting, which makes it very demoralizing.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with that, being demoralized, then go for it. So that's my first thought about songwriting.
Yeah.
Do you any thoughts on songwriting, Ben?
It's tough. I remember I had some mates.
It's close.
Almost Pepsi Max that board. I remember in high school I had some mates. We used to write songs and perform at some pubs, and we would just write them on the spot.
Right.
And they're still on YouTube, and they are horrible. They're absolutely so bad. And I was like, this is really tough. And I thought, I came to college originally to do like songwriting stuff.
Yep.
It is so hard. Like to understand, like one, get it theologically correct if you're doing a Christian song.
That's important.
Like that's very important. I love that at our church we have people that are checking over every lyric that's written to make sure it is sounds. That's really important. But
all of our kids' songs go through the same process as all of our growing up songs.
And like once you get even just past that stage, making sure making it sound good and people want to listen to it and engaging, like it's mind blowing. I've not been able to produce a song I even liked.
Right.
Like it's, but listen to other people who they can get melodies off really well, but then they can't do lyrics that well, and then they write with someone else who can write words really well, but can't play an instrument to save their life.
Yes.
So it's struggle street.
So
but
you've
done a few albums.
We've done a
What
few
we've
albums
established is that
It's
it's
hard.
almost
Don't do it.
impossible.
It's borderline impossible.
Not Joel even
But
tried.
you've done a few now, and you just did one last year.
Yep, 100%.
How was that?
That was... Well, okay, here's our last album, Can You Believe It? Which is on... You can listen to it right now on all our streaming platforms.
There was
interesting...
another album, but yeah, sure.
And there was
Yeah, that was
another
your last album.
Dan's album.
Yeah.
The last album we did was Funny Man Dan's album called
Songs
of Some
So
Silliness.
demoralized in the corner.
Here's the thing.
We did this great album.
We put every song he wrote on that.
And there was no bar.
Output was very high.
Okay, so let me clarify. Here's the thing about those last two albums that we did. That was like we had spent years making songs, and we just kind of put them together. We obviously made them better, but that was like we hadn't done a kids album at Hillsong Kids since 2009, I think, 2012, and so we took a break, and there was this kind of backlog of songs that had collected. So it wasn't too hard because we had lots of time. We are looking to do a new Hillsong Kids album in the future. I don't know when it'll happen, but it will happen eventually. And at the moment, how many songs do we have?
Zero.
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 What is zero in Spanish?
Zero.
Nada.
Not.
There's nothing at the
Nada.
moment. So I'm terrified of the next album
Sicher.
because we're starting with a blank slate. And as we know, a blank piece of paper is the most terrifying thing to an artist. We haven't still talked about the process. But I would say...
Do you write your songs based on themes, or is it just
Yes.
as the wind blows?
I would say this.
Do you sit down and go, we're going to write some songs about righteousness, or we're going to write songs about God's family, or we're going to write songs about X, Y,
Right.
Z?
Anytime you can,
Does that help?
anytime you can
Narrow.
give yourself a restriction, it's
Yeah.
great for the creative
helps.
process.
Great.
So if you want to write a kid song, start without an idea. What do I want to write a kid song about?
Yeah.
Let's write a kid song about being humble.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Now I've got to think about how in the world I can tack that at multiple different angles. Do I want to do a song where someone's bragging and then someone else is saying, "Whoa, you need to be humble, be humble.
Oh.
You don't look
Write this
too
down.
much yourself," or something like that, right?
Ask Moses.
What was that line?
Yeah,
You
what was
don't
that
do
last
everything
bit?
yourself.
Don't look too much at yourself.
And don't look too much at yourself. Yeah, that needs
Right?
work.
So
But
you
that
can have-
first line
you-
was great.
You can have that, or you could go through some scriptures and do that.
Do
or
you think
could
about
do all sorts
audience
of
much? Like, and obviously
Never.
kids, but do you think about audience in terms of like where and when it's going to get sung? Like who's going to be who's going to be singing it in what context?
Yes, because we have done age, even within kids, there'd be junior songs, like
Yeah.
preschool songs and then adult songs. So yes, you think about, because some songs could be sung by 0 to 12,
yeah,
1 to 12 maybe, maybe not 0, but they enjoy it though.
yeah,
And some songs would be maybe for older kids. But yeah, I think what we're saying is we need to do a whole songwriting episode.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, I would like you to write in
I'm
questions
free next
too.
Friday.
I would like you to email questions about songwriting and kids worship. If you're interested in hearing more, we need your questions
Yes.
too.
thevault@hillsong.com.
.com.
And if we get enough questions, we'll do a whole episode devoted to it. Deal?
Oh, that's a
Ooh,
great
that's
idea.
smart.
Get
Because
Becky in.
there's a lot
Yeah,
we
the
can
pro.
talk about, but
Snippety
only
snap.
if you're interested.
Maybe even Sophie.
All right. Ooh, okay. This is a good
Oh,
one.
hang on. Before you go on,
Yes.
you send to me for fact check.
I'll fact check.
This is a little game for Ben.
Yep.
Graham, you can help out. Dave,
Okay.
you're allowed to play.
I'm
And
right.
everyone at home. Which of these are official, published Hillsong songs?
All right.
Now, Hillsong only published the best.
Yep.
So we've
Out
heard.
of these titles, which ones are official?
You're going to
published
give us what, A and B? And
No. Oceans.
Mm-hmm.
Do we tell
One
you straight away?
Way?
Do we tell you straight away?
No, I'm going to give you the.
okay.
thing. Oh, we can. You Oceans.
Yes.
I'm going to say that is
Yes.
an official.
it's not really the official title, but carry on.
Where feet may fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. One Way.
Oh.
Yes. One way
Okay.
Jesus. Yeah.
Oh, Little Green Pea.
I don't remember singing that one on Sunday.
Okay, so it's a no. That is how you spell polydactylism.
You know what? I think we sung that one a couple of weeks ago, just
Oh,
after
yes.
who I say am.
I see where you're going with this, Dan.
It was a
Archer.
powerful moment.
Dandy Candy Eating Handy Hands.
That one's on your album.
Yes.
I
yes.
know that.
Jesus Woohoo.
Okay, so
Yes.
that is great.
100%.
And the last one is Wash Your Hands Before You Poop.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what?
What
Why
or
did you sing
after?
that one?
Wash your hands before.
It's always
All
before.
right.
Okay,
Wash
so
your hands
for
before
the
you
audience listening, Dan is all of these songs are published by
Every
Hillsong
single one of them.
because
Polydactylism.
Yeah.
this is how you spell
Would you like
polydactylism.
me to sing it for you?
Go.
Oh, little green.
Oh,
pea.
little green pea.
Oh, no, there is.
Oh,
Won't you
little
I
do-
remember
green pea.
that
Oh,
one.
won't you something
Talk
for
to
me?
me.
Talk to me.
Oh,
I remember watching that.
There's
So-
another one. I remember one
I
that's
didn't-
called Floss Like a Boss,
Okay.
which this is
that
literally
what it's
Hillsong.
called?
He goes, no, he goes,
What is it?
I remember you doing this.
tell your teeth who is boss before you brush your teeth. Make sure you floss. Ha 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 ha.
Okay. If you've ever seen so here's the deal. Whenever we make a video and somebody makes up a song or says anything on the Hillsong movie, if you've ever seen that, Taya, one of our amazing worship leaders, sings Jesus woohoo.
Yeah, Joel says, make up a song. And so she goes, Jesus woohoo. That's an official.
That's an official.
In fact, that's her first song she's ever written.
So because when you make a
Royalties.
movie, it's just about they just cover all the bases legally.
Yeah.
So then, because if you didn't, music can be used in nefarious ways by anybody if you don't look after what you've created.
So
So
if
the
we-
movie people go, well, we need to register that as a song
So if we
We just.
were to sing a song right
on this
now,
podcast.
Yeah, it has to go.
No.
Yeah. Well, the humble song's already.
So yes,
terrible song.
that is how you spell polydactylism. Is a hip hop song sung by Emergency
Dr. Emergency.
on one of our videos.
Wiki.
It's not a long song.
Wow. Wow.
But polydactylism, what is it, Dan?
Gosh.
It's a disease of the skin, isn't it?
I don't know.
Polydactylism.
I will get
Sounds
you a
like
fact.
Many
It's a dinosaur.
dactyl.
Many
Sounds
dinosaurs.
like a dinosaur. Dactyl.
Many different
Pterodactyl.
dinosaurs.
I don't think it was a bad disease.
No.
As opposed
We
to a
wouldn't have
good
done
disease.
something horrible.
It's a good disease.
Polydactylism- Oh no, it's a congenial physical abnormality in humans and animals.
Supernumerary toes.
It
It means you get more.
It's someone with, there's a picture here with someone
Someone
with
with
10
6
toes
fingers.
on both sides.
10 toes.
Wow.
1, 2,
That's
3,
freaky.
This little
That's
piggy
not
went to the
right.
market.
Eight
This little piggy, there's too many piggies.
8 toes on one foot
Okay.
and 9 on the other.
She's got
Can you fact check
polydactylism.
Yeah,
Okay,
polydactylism.
so there you go. It's something a doctor
To
would
have
know
6
about.
fingers
glad
is
we
a
We
good
really
workout.
dropped down that rabbit
It really helped you, Carly.
All right, so let's go again. By the way, just so you know,
And how do you spell
we
it?
get through far less questions with 4 people. It seems. This is a big one. I want to
Simple
talk about
maths.
this. What are your expectations for people you would see as key team members outside of a Sunday? So your leaders who lead teams, do they have responsibilities for their role midweek? Important midweek. Or is their role strictly Sundays only? Just in case you're wondering, the main way that we grow our teams in Hillsong Kids is we have a key team structure, and we really focus on that. Because if you've got a strong core key team, key being this is the core of our team, the people who are dedicated, committed, and who are delegated authority, that we really value that as a concept, as an idea, because our services are so wide, 8 services in the city, location, that's a very wide team. So we need a core key team. So key teams and action.
Key teams.
So what do you say? So what is
Literally
in
said
a
to me
creative?
last night, I don't know anything about kids ministry except for building teams. So you better have a good answer here.
So-
Specifically key
So
team.
talk about the responsibilities that your key team would have in creative,
For creative. So
because that's interesting. There's a lot of midweek to do.
There is a lot of midweek. So for creative, at our Hills campus, which is the biggest one around, we do 26 praise and worship services on a Sunday and alone.
Yeah.
So praise and that includes songs, like praise and worship songs, and then a preaching element, whether it be on the screen or like an actual live preacher. So that's a lot of services to happen on a Sunday. So we have to make sure we have people overseeing different areas of that. So for me at Hills, we have a lot of different areas that I've delegated authority to in different things. So we have someone that oversees all our mornings. So for creative, he problem solves anything that comes on. He makes sure all our teams are in their roster positions. Everyone's got everything they need. And his job is just to float between and make sure everything's happening really well. We have people that oversee our rostering, because we have to roster a bunch of musicians for every different, and vocalists and singers for every different service. So we have a team that look after the vocal rostering, the musician rostering. We also have a creative events team, so someone who looks after our creative events team, which is making sure there's people dressed up as characters walking around outside, making sure there's stage design in our different state, making sure that the rooms all look really good. I think the key with that and all these different areas is what I value a lot, is bringing them all together and actually sharing with them what the core heart of what we're doing and reinforcing that.
Very good.
Because midweek for them, they all have different responsibilities, like every single one of them. So rostering midweek. To make that easier again though, because everyone's work weeks are different. Like we have mums in our team, we have, kids who are 16, we have college students in our team, we have a very different age brackets and stuff. So my goal with anyone on key team is I want to make it work for everyone in their own personal situation. Because on your volunteer teams as well, you'll have mums with 4 kids, and during the week they may not have enough time to help out with a lot of stuff. So you want to make sure that if they're still on your key team, you want to give them some responsibility, because that's how they feel empowered and feel like they're winning in what they're doing. And it's helping you as well, because it's taking your hands off something so you can focus more on pastoring your kids and your people, which is what you're called to do. So with what I've done with that is like we get together at certain times to do tasks together. So they're still doing something midweek, and I'll make it work for them. It'll be a night time, or it'll be maybe a Sunday after church we'll get together. I still consider that after church being like a midweek thing, because it's not actually happening during our services. So it's a separate time to that, and we'll get through some tasks. But yeah, I think it's more just reinforcing the why behind you do it, and then you through that working with people in different scenarios and situations, and be like, what can you do? What can you actually help out with? And individualizing
100%. A plan for each person, treating people like an individual, and go, well, what's the most how can you help and fit into this big picture? It's a trickier way to function instead of everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it.
I think it's very valuable and very important with us in kids ministry because it's not like youth where every youth leader.
Right. It's a very wide range
old.
of people in different life stages.
Yeah.
Key team, Graham, give us a quick one. Any thoughts on that? Especially midweek.
Yeah, midweek. I think in terms of their responsibilities, I think obviously it's all contextual, so not everyone's responsibility is going to look the same in the week. But the ones that can, obviously you're going to encourage them the most to give as much time as they can, and some people will be giving more hours than others. It doesn't make them less value if they can't, because it's more sometimes a question of capacity and time. Often the most high capacity dialed in leaders have got the least amount of time because they're genuinely better, like they've got different jobs or they're working harder or they've got different things. So you've got to be able to dial in where people are, what their capacity is versus how much time they have. And sometimes it's the other way around. People who have a lot of time might necessarily have the highest capacity.
Correct.
And it's dialing in those things. And often we look at time as the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
They're here the most, they're the most present, they can do the most, but they might necessarily be the most capable people. And that's when sometimes things can fall over or things can fail because you've expected too much from someone who's just got all the time in the world versus someone who's got higher capacity but can do things a lot better because they've got different skill sets or whatever. So sometimes you have to dial in your expectation on people versus their capacity. And just because they can't be there for your key team meeting at a specific time in the middle of the day because they've got jobs, they've got kids, they've got other things to do, doesn't mean that they're less value to you. You just have to work out how they can be still contribute at a high level. And that's a big challenge across the church in general because time, we always give time the most value, but it's not always the most valuable thing.
100%.
And when they meet, wow, that's when it really dials in.
Amazing. All right, if you would like to know more about our key team structure, send us an email at
thevault@hillsong.com. Little quote for you, David.
Yes, Daniel.
Says if everyone is moving forward together, then success will take care of itself.
Who said that, Dan?
Henry Ford.
Who's he?
Who we all know was a father of four.
Personally, we all know him.
Actually, was a father of one. I think he invented
The Ford.
bikes.
Yeah, he invented electric bikes. Okay, so we want to. Now, here's the thing, everybody. We've got Dan. We've barely got anything done. We've had too much fun.
We chatted to Tash.
We've talked about Tash and we've got to Carly.
Is there a time limit
Are
on
we
this
moving
podcast?
forward together?
We are moving forward together.
Success.
Will take care of itself.
So I'm going to wrap this up with a couple. There's Carly here. Okay, I'll wrap this up. This
There's
question.
a time limit on this podcast.
So who's Carly?
Well, we keep
Where's
it
the
to
clock?
about 40 minutes.
Right.
And I've hit 44.
So we're over.
According
It's
to
cut
me.
now. Gone.
Tell everyone to dial it to 1.5.
Well, we didn't start exactly, so
Yeah.
we're going to wrap this up here. Well, you want to make people leave people wanting more.
Ooh.
You don't want to you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So read half a question and we'll
Wow.
finish it.
And then everyone.
Oh, we can do that.
Well,
What? Half a question?
And then
All
we
right.
can answer it
Come back
later.
next week. to find
Speaking, she talked about latest trends, which question 5 though goes, speaking of latest trends, is TikTok big in Australia right now as well? All right, well, we're going to answer that next week. So...
when we
Should we do
research
that?
what TikTok
Should we do
is.
this? I know, I'm on TikTok.
I know what TikTok.
But we don't. Let's do that. Let's leave it for next week's episode. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Come back next week and we're going to talk about TikTok. We're going to start the show. We're talking about TikTok. I need to make a note
the
of that.
watch.
Not the watch. No.
A few podcasts ask a question to their guests,
Right.
And they say, if you want to hear the answer, please subscribe and pay us money.
But we
We're
just
not gonna
say
do that.
come back
Just
next
come
week.
back next week.
So
Send
thanks
us a
for joining
question.
us, to Graham for the first time ever, to Ben for the first time ever.
Not the problem.
We're giving email of the week is going to Carly because we did pay her out quite hard.
Yeah.
Who's Carly?
Don't you remember?
And
You read a
We
wedding.
went to the.
Yeah.
No.
he doesn't
No?
remember. Okay, so but for the first time ever, and I'll write this down. Stick around after the show on YouTube for the Vault Unlocked.
Oh, what?
Our
I see what
exclusive,
you did there.
our
That's
exclusive
intriguing.
bonus training session for kids, leaders, and pastors today with Ben, and his topic is going to be.
Oh,
The
snap.
keys to key team.
Whoa!
Oh, what the
There
heck?
we go.
He was withholding.
I was
So-
talking to Carly.
If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything else, this is only available on YouTube on our channel. So visit that Hillsong Kids Leadership, search for that. Also, check us out, Hillsong Kids for content for kids, Funny Man Dan for content for funny, and Hillsong Kids Leadership, which is this channel, which is for adults and grown-ups. Also, if you want to know more about the book, then search If Only You Knew Hillsong. It'll come up. You can buy that in bulk for your team. We give it to every new volunteer. You should too. Thanks for coming, everybody. Say goodbye to our team.
Bye to the team.
Bye, team.
Bye.
To the team.